So a while ago now, I released a video on the channel showing you how to configure the reverse thrust on your Thrustmaster TCA Airbus Throttles with the PMDG 737. But what if I told you there was an application that will not only sort the reverse thrust issues out for you with the click of a button, but it will also configure all the other buttons and switches on your Airbus Throttles, including those found on the flaps and speed brake add-on units. And then what if I told you it could do the same thing for a wide range of airliners, not just the PMDG Boeings? And then what if I told you that this kind of thing wasn't just limited to the Thrustmaster Airbus Throttles, but it could work with a wide range of simming gear? Well, that's what we're going to look at today. The application I'm talking about is called Spad.NEXT. It is a paid-for application, but holy smokes is it worth every penny. It comes with a 14-day free trial, so you can make sure it's going to be right for you before you buy it. So if you haven't done so already, take a look at this and get playing around. I'm seriously kicking myself that I didn't do this a long time ago. Spad aren't paying me to make this video. They've got no idea I'm making this video. They've got no say in what's in this video. This is purely my own thoughts and opinions. I just really wanted to share this with you. So to demo it, I'm going to show you how I use it to get my Thrustmaster Airbus throttle quadrant with add-ons working with the PMDG Boeing 737, 777, Fenix A320 and the iniBuilds A300. It's not limited to just these aircraft. But in the interest of time, I'm going to keep it to that, and it should give you the gist of what you need to do to get other airliners set up that you may fly. Now, if you're like me and you fly multiple airliners, you've probably got loads of profiles set up in the control options of the sim. Here you can see I've got one for the Fenix, the ATR, the Boeing, the A310. It goes on and on and on. Now, for Spad to work, we have to make a new profile just for it, and then we have to remove all of the bindings from that profile, temporarily making your hardware pretty useless. But we need to do it in order to stop any conflicts between the sim and Spad, as we're going to essentially hand off control of our hardware to Spad instead of letting the sim do it. Aside from the awesome customization that you can achieve within Spad, which you'll see later in the video, it also allows you to set up profiles within Spad for each airliner. It will then auto-detect which plane you're in, and then auto-switch the profile for you, so you won't have to switch profiles between, say, Airbus and Boeing ever again. It's really, really nice. So we're going to start with a blank canvas, and I'll show you how easy it is to get things set up. So just to quickly demo how we go about making a new profile just for Spad, you see here I'm on the default profile on the Airbus Throttles. Go down to your preset manager, and then we're going to make ourselves a new profile based on this one. We're going to need to rename it, so I'm going to call it Spad. Click OK. And then, rather than having to go through each and every one of these and deleting them one by one, which would take forever, go to Open Preset Manager, go to Clear All. It will say all current bindings will be cleared. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do, because I don't want to have to do it manually. And then we're done. You can see now we've got a Spad profile with absolutely nothing assigned to it. Now, you notice I've got other bits of hardware like my yoke and my side stick. We're not going to worry about those with Spad because I'm quite happy with how they work with the sim as they are. We're just focusing on the Airbus Throttles today, and you can look at your sim setup and decide which piece of hardware you want to hand off control to Spad and which ones you're quite happy leaving be. Okay, so we're now back in our 737 and we are using our blank Spad profile that we've just made, and as you can see I start moving stuff around on my throttles because we've unbound all of the controls. It does absolutely nothing. It is completely and utterly useless. So now we need to get Spad involved and get that configured. Alright, here is Spad. Here is the home screen. Now just what I would do if I were you, go to settings, go to devices, and go to joysticks and just make sure that all your hardware is showing up. Just in case it isn't, you can flick this to on if it is set to off. That's just a handy thing to know. Now, over here is the Profiles tab, and I've just got a blank template that we're starting with. I've only got one profile installed. The idea is that we're going to have one profile for every plane. So we're going to make this one our 737 profile, make another one for the 777, we'll make another one for like the Fenix, we'll make another one for the A300, and so on and so on. So that's what we're going to do. Let's start by editing this profile. We will call it 737, and then we can change our aircraft assignments. You can see here it's found the 737 with our air not livery. If we click on the kind of parent item there in the list, we click across, you see all three go across. You don't have to do it individually. It does seem to switch airliners based on livery rather than aircraft type. So if you add liveries, you may need to kind of add the liveries from over here to the assigned aircraft type. But click save and then save again, and then this is our 737 profile. Now we need to go to our devices, click on the TCA QEng 1 and 2, You can see here we've got all of our bits and pieces that make up our device. But as you can see here in the bottom bit where all of your kind of assignments would be for all the controls, there's nothing there. And you can see as I move them, it moves in the app as well, which is nice, as do the switches and things like that. Now, we're not going to sit here and configure everything manually. That'll take far too long and I'm far too lazy. But we need to just basically click on one thing here. So we'll just click on the throttle. We can click anywhere, it doesn't matter. But you notice now the online snippets button has lit up. Click on that. Just move over here so you're not blocked by the webcam view. And you can see here it's highlighted the x-axis, which is the throttle unit I just clicked on. Come up, click on the actual whole device, and then we can do a search. Now, for the 737, I would recommend we use a profile made by a chap called Les O'Reilly. I think we all owe Les a huge debt. He's done so much work with Spad and various airliners in the sim, so be sure to go and check him out. I'll leave a link to his channel. Really great channel. It's done so much for the community. So up in the top, we're going to search. I'm going to type in Les and part of his surname. There we go. And we can see here, these are the profiles that he has made. Now, this is the one we're interested in, the 737, but take note, there's also one for the 777 that we'll be using shortly. And I also believe someone for the ATR 600. So the point is, there's loads and loads of snippets online that you can just download and get using straight away. Not all made by Les. I'm using Les's here because it's kind of the best one, I think, for the 737. But if you're in a different aircraft, just you can search by aircraft type. So, I don't know, maybe if you're in the Fenix. There we go, there's a ton of them here for the Fenix, and you can kind of work your way through them, try them out, see which ones work, see which ones don't, and get going really quickly. It saves you having to configure everything. Basically, someone else has done the hard work for you. Anyway, back to where we were. So now we're going to choose this one here for the 737. We're going to click OK. Do you want to replace all events pages defined for this device? Yes, we do. So now if we click on, say, this throttle unit, you see we've got a load of clever stuff in here, which is going to actually do some stuff for us. And again, for the engine switches and for the speed brakes and the gear lever and all this kind of stuff. It's really cool stuff. So I'm going to save the profile here with the little red save icon button, and we should be done. So now if we come into here, I should be able to start moving my throttles. And lo and behold, it works. Reverse thrust. That's working nicely. And what is really nice is, you know how you quite often use the little red button here on the side of the throttles to disconnect the auto throttle. If I put that on, like sort of one click disarms it, another click clears the little light going off here. One thing that's nice, if it's already on and you're ready for takeoff, if you click and hold it, you notice how you go to toga thrust, which for if you want to do a flex takeoff, is really nice. You no longer have to kind of click the little screw up here as a shortcut. Now if I do one click and pull the throttles back, you can see we're fine. But yeah, really nice functionality throughout. There's lots of little bits and pieces like that. For example, if you want to turn off the engines, so if I had to flip the engine switches off now, you notice they don't do anything. They do nothing at all. And I originally thought, oh no, it's broken. But actually, if we come to a stop, an abrupt stop, put the parking brake on, now turn the engines off, they actually go off because there's a condition within SPAD that says don't turn the engines off unless you're on the ground and the parking brake is set. So there's no risk of doing it mid-air. So lots of little nice to have features throughout. Things like the first D10 on the speed brakes lever arms it, and then the further ones go through all the various different notches. It's like it just works. It's super nice. So grateful to Les basically for doing all the hard work for us. And again, the flaps work perfectly. Everything just pretty much works. Things like the auto brake. You see we've got this little dial switch here. You see they all kind of go exactly where you think they should go. Super nice job. And that is that. Now I'm going to show you how to add a second aircraft and then how to get that one set up as well, because obviously we've only done one so far, so it's important that I show you how to set up multiple aircraft so it all works nicely. So I will see you in the 777 in just a moment. Okay, so we're back at the main menu, having just quit the 737. So we need to make a new profile for our 777. So I'm going to click the Create Empty Profile button. I'm going to call it 777. If I could type. There we go. And you see it switched it to be our active profile. You know which one's active because you've got the little red plane next to it. Now we need to go to edit profile and we need to change our aircraft assignment. So commercial airliners, 777-300ER. Let's push all of that over and you can see I've only got 2 liveries installed, my own and the PMDG house livery, but it's taken both of them across. Let's click save and save again and we are in business. So over to our devices. Go to our throttle quadrant. Again, just click on anything just to get the online snippets button to load, to appear as clickable. Click on that. And again, we're going to do a search for Les. And we need to make sure that we click on the actual parent device, not just one axis within it. And we can see what we saw earlier with all the profiles that Les has got published. Again, just massive thanks to Les. Here we go. We got the 777 one, so double click. Do you want to replace all events pages defined for this device? Yes, we do. There we go. Now if we start clicking on stuff, you can see that we've got controls that have been added to it. And it should work perfectly. So let's load up the 777 into the sim and see if it does. Okay, now we're in the 777. We can have a quick look and see how things are looking. You can see the throttles are all working very nicely, and the reversers are also working very nicely indeed. Let's just get our brakes on. There we go. That's a point, actually. The brakes weren't working very nicely when we used the 737 profile. You will find if you just use that 737 profile, some things will work, such as the throttles, but other things won't. So you do need the dedicated 777 profile, but that's no problem. You just get it installed and then everything comes to life. You can see here the flaps are working nicely, speed brakes. It's nice again that the first detent goes to the armed position. That's going to be really handy, and again to disarm, just push it back. Everything's just working very, very nicely indeed, and it's yeah, it just makes life so much easier. And again, Spad will switch between the 777 profile and the 737 profile, depending on which plane you load into. You don't need to go into the controls and start flicking around every time. And similarly, if we were to get a Fenix A320 set up, it would then auto switch to our Fenix controls. On which subject, let's do that. Okay, so much like before, we're going to create a new empty profile. I'm going to call this one Fenix. There it is. And we're going to need to edit the profile, go to aircraft assignment. Okay, and then we just need to find our Fenix planes. So we've got the CFM versions, and you can see the liveries we've got within that. We'll click the CFM, we'll click the AIE engines. But interestingly, I can't see my own livery, and for whatever reason, it's down here in the unknown section. So I don't know what I've done with my livery. I've probably made a mistake, but not to worry. That can be added as well. Let's click save, and we'll click save again. And our Fenix profile is added. So let's jump into the sim and we'll see if we can figure out how to get a Fenix set up, because Les hasn't done a profile for the Fenix, so we're going to have to fend for ourselves a little bit. Okay, so we're spawned into Heathrow with our Fenix A320, and as you can see, because we haven't actually added any profiles to Spad, everything is not working, which is kind of how we want it, but not for long. So let's load up Spad. You can see in our profiles page, we've got the Fenix profile selected. Now we go to our device and again, just click on something to get this online snippets to show up. Yeah, so it can be difficult sometimes to know which one you should choose, because obviously these are all kind of made by different people that have submitted them. I'm going to go with this one here, Magglestat. We'll go with that one. See what that does. Double click it. Do you want to replace all events pages defined for this device? Yes, I do. So now if we click around, hopefully we've got loads of different things going on. Yes, we do. All right, let's save that. And we'll see if our throttles work. Yes, they do. Does it go into reverse? Yes, it does. Let's just check our speed brakes are working. Yes, they are, and presumably, yeah, that's working, that's working, that's working. Parking brake? Yeah, parking brake works. And what about the auto brakes? Medium, max, yeah. You can see the buttons clicking in there, albeit we're on the ground, so they're probably not going to light up in the same way that they normally would. That's fine. What about flaps? Let's just try flaps. Oh, okay. So flaps, weirdly, isn't working. But what we can do, if there is like just a flaps profile, we can always add that just to get things working. So let me just show you what to do. So we can go to our right add-on, we can select our flaps, and for whatever reason, this just isn't doing it. So let's delete that, and then we can go to online snippets. Just drag this over here again so you can see. Up if I could spell. There we go. So we've got Microsoft Flight Simulator, Fenix A320, flaps. Okay, let's try that, shall we? Fine. It's got a load of stuff in there. That looks pretty good. So does it work now? So we go flaps 1. Yes, 2, 3, 4. That's the way. And everything else appears to be working very nicely indeed. So you might say, well, why are you bothering with the Fenix? Because the Fenix works pretty well out of the box anyway. But then you've got to think about the fact that we're kind of trying to hand over everything to Spad, because Spad will auto-switch between aircrafts. So if I was now to come out of the Fenix and load into the 737, it would auto-load my 737 profile. So immediately this will all work like it should do for the 737. Then if I switch back to the Fenix, it will automatically switch it back to our Fenix profile, so it will all work like it should for the Fenix. It basically means you don't have to keep switching between profiles, which is something I really, really hate. I know it's only a small thing, but every time I kind of switch from Boeing to Airbus, I'm like, oh, damn it, I've got to go and do the controls again. Whereas if Spad can make me not need to do that, I am all for that. But yeah, this is working really nicely. Let's finish up with the iniBuilds A300, and then I think that's probably, you know, enough aircraft demoed. You could argue I've demoed enough already. But then hopefully from there you should have seen it enough times and gotten the gist of things, and we'll be able to then go ahead and start applying things to aircraft that maybe you fly that I haven't featured in this video. So we'll catch up in a few minutes with the iniBuilds A300. Alright, same story as the other planes we've been dealing with. We need to create a new empty profile. I'm going to call this A300. And we need to then edit that profile. We need to change our aircraft assignments, and we need to, there I have my A300 freighter is in the unknown thing again. I think I must be doing something wrong with my liveries, but yeah, this is going to be for the A300 freighter that I like to fly a lot. Obviously, you add whatever planes you like to fly a lot, but that's, this should cover me, I think, cover all my bases. 777, 737, A320 Fenix, and the iniBuilds A300 are kind of my go-to aircrafts in the sim, so this should get us all nice and covered. Then we need to go to our devices. You can see we've switched to the A300 profile. Go to our devices, same as before. Click on something just to get that online snippets to show up. Click on the parent device rather than just one of the axes. Do a search for the A300, and you can see here that someone's made one. A300 TCA quadrant with add-on. And that's looking pretty good, so we'll give that a go. Do you want to replace all the stuff? Yes, we do. And if we just sort of have a click around, we can see it's got loads of stuff going on there, which is awesome. Click save, and we'll go into the sim and spawn into the plane and see if it's worked. All right, now we are spawned into the A300. It's time to see if things have worked. So, do our throttles work? Yes, they do. What about our parking brakes? Yep, that's all good. Speed brakes, they seem to be working well. And flaps. Jolly good. What about reverse? Yeah, you can see the engine there has gone into reverse, and if I close it up, hopefully, yeah, there you go, back to normal. So on the face of it, that is looking pretty good. The only other thing you might need to consider is, with all these aircraft, of course, is that you might need to recalibrate your throttles within the plane. So just to give you an example, on the iniBuilds A300, you might need to go in here, do the throttle calibration, just to make sure that everything's all good. Because if you've had any throttle calibrations that you've done for your throttles in the sim through the controls options, obviously they're going to be wiped out when you do a blank profile and then hand it all over to Spad. So you may just need to redo this. But yeah, what a great result for Spad. Now there's only one thing we need to do. Let's just see if the engine switches work. Yeah, of course they work. Everything works. One thing we need to do before we wrap this video up, we are currently in the A300, and as you can see, if I were to go into profiles, you can see that it has got our A300 profile active. But then we did just create it and it automatically activated the profile. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to not touch SPAD. I'm going to come out of the A300. I'm going to spawn in the 737 and we're going to see if it auto switches us to the 737 profile and then check that it all works nicely. I really hope it does, because that for me is one of the big draws of this piece of software. And then we will see in a couple of seconds if that works. All right, let's switch into our 737. I'm going to select my own livery, which is included in the profile, so it should auto switch. Let's set our departure for Heathrow, load in, and hope that it actually switches us over to the right profile. I really hope this works. Okay, we're back in the 737 now. I haven't touched a thing in SPAD. I'm going to hope that everything starts to work. I'm going to move the throttles, and okay, it is working, but then are we actually in the 737 profile? Yes, look at that. So I've just brought up SPAD and you can see we've switched from our A300. It's detected we're in the 737 and everything is now working perfectly, just like it was before with the 737, and we're in that profile. So that is a really nice result. Yeah, everything is just as it was before. Wow, what a cool piece of software. And it's important to note that this isn't just limited to, messing around with the Thrustmaster Airbus throttles. There's loads of other bits of kit that it can work with, which again is why it's so handy that they give you a 14-day free trial so you can actually see if you like it, because you can imagine somebody thinks it's going to do a certain thing, pays for it, and then it doesn't, and then there's just like, it's not a good situation, is it? So they give you the trial, you've got a fortnight to try it out, and then obviously if it isn't right, then you can just move along and no harm done. One thing I'm considering getting is some of those Logitech radio panels for on VATSIM. And one of the problems with VATSIM, particularly in Europe, I believe, is that the frequencies have got like 6 digits, so 118.250, for example. But the actual screens on the Logitech radio panels only have room for 5 digits. So people were saying, well, actually, that makes it pretty much useless for VATSIM. But if you consider that all the frequencies start with a 1, you only actually need the last 5 digits. So instead of 118.250, you would do 18.250. And there is actually I'm led to believe, a SPAD add-on for that, which will basically take care of that. It will kind of move all the numbers over by 1 to lose the first 1 in the frequency, because it's always a 1, so you don't really need to know that it's there, it just is. And then you can continue using them on VATSIM. So potentially going to look into that on the channel in future, but that just gives you an idea of what could potentially be done with it. It's not just for this throttle unit at all. It's a very, very powerful piece of software, but at the same time quite simple, as you can see. So I'd really encourage you to check it all out. Leave us a comment if you are already using it. If possible that you know a few tips and tricks that if you could share with the community in the comments, that would be wonderful. And let me know how you get on if you do give it a go. But until next time, folks, take the very best care of yourselves. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next video. And as always, happy flying.